that, you're dead.
So apparently you guys liked that when I ranked the Sonic 2022 project, so why not rank something from another franchise? And by that I mean ranking a movie franchise that almost every YouTube critic likes to bully, the Transformer movies. Now, I'd personally like to call myself a somewhat Transformers fan. Well, at the time I'm writing the script to most of the movies. I'm trying to watch the OG series, so please don't judge me. So why am I even making this video? Well, two reasons. One, just having some nostalgia for it, and two, there's a new Transformers movie coming out in June, and I want to see it, and I want to rank these movies for a video before it comes out. So that's what I'm going to do. So here's how this video will be formatted. What I'm going to do is best summarize, which basically means to recap what goes on in these movies in chronological order, for both those who haven't seen the movies and for those who don't feel like watching them. You're welcome. Then I'm going to actually review these movies from my perspective and opinion from worst to best. And then I'm going to give out a verdict of what I think of the series as a whole, then credits, then the final ranking with memes, because why not? And you're probably wondering why every critic don't like these movies. Well, you're about to see for that. So before this video actually starts, apparently 2.9% of my subscribers actually watch my videos. So make sure to subscribe and follow me on Twitch if you can. So now let's actually get into this video.
Autobots roll out from the bay into the night.
And though we are worlds apart, like us, there's more to them than meets the eye.
A boy named Sam Witwicky gets his first car, which turns out to be an alien robot from outer space. Also, this boy's great-grandfather has actually discovered one of these alien robots before in the Arctic Circle. His great-grandfather also has a pair of glasses that were handed down in his family, which now Sam is trying to sell on eBay. But these alien robots try to come after Sam for the glasses.
Are you username LadiesMan217? Are you username LadiesMan217?
You see, the alien robot that Sam's great-grandfather saw was a Decepticon named Megatron, who kind of zapped his grandfather's glasses. And Sam's car, who's an alien robot, turns out to be an Autobot named Bumblebee. You also meet the Autobots, Jazz, Ironhide, Ratchet, and Optimus Prime. Optimus Prime explains how they need the glasses to get to this cube called the Allspark, the thing that gives a Transformer life. But they must get to it first before the Decepticons do to take over Earth's technology and conquer the universe. They also explain how their planet Cybertron was destroyed due to the outbreak of the war because of Megatron. Pretty soon they find out while Bumblebee gets captured by the government. Sam and, oh yeah, I forgot, Michaela, who's basically there to be Sam's crush, she's in here. She's also met the Autobots. She also got arrested with Sam when Sector 7 shows up, who, by the way, is being led by Mr. Simmons here, aka Francesco from Cars 2. What they do is they take Sam and Michaela to this bunker that apparently stores the Allspark and even frozen up Megatron. They free Bumblebee to tinker with the Allspark a little, Megatron breaks free, and now everything turns to chaos. The Autobots reunite and now it's a battle for the Allspark. The Autobots and the military versus the Decepticons. Just to get to the point, both Optimus and Megatron get weakened during battle, and Sam, who is carrying the Allspark, uses it to kill Megatron, and that's basically where this movie ends. Except basically Sam and Michaela get together, and now the Autobots call Earth their home to protect the humans.
This is not your planet to rule. The fallen shall rise again.
The movie starts with Optimus Prime giving a narration about how the humans and the Transformers have actually met before a long time ago. The original Primes were here, but one of them turned against them, making them the original Decepticon called the Fallen. We then cut to an action scene in Shanghai where this huge Decepticon is running rampant and Optimus and the Autobots stop him, but before the Decepticon dies, he leaves a message for them.
The fallen shall rise again.
Then we cut to Sam leaving for home for college, talking to Michaela and finding out how he actually had a sliver of the Allspark in his sweater. Michaela goes over to his house and Sam gives her the sliver for safekeeping. We then cut to the Autobots talking to this angry government guy who's spilling out every government secret about the Autobots from the first movie, with another piece of the cube and where Megatron's body is. And this is bad because the Decepticons overhear everything and they steal the shard to revive Megatron. Megatron actually goes to space and talks with the Fallen and figure out a plan how to kill Optimus so they can take over the world. Back to Sam, he meets his college roommates who run an alien conspiracy channel. Guess what aliens in the Pacific? Oh yeah, Sam's roommate, Leo. He mentions how he actually has a crush on this girl named Alicia. It's important, trust me. Sam goes to a Richard party and Alicia actually starts to act very flirty with that boy.
I just want to have some fun.
Want to have some fun? Yeah, okay. Let's play some checkers. You can sit over there. Oh my.
So how about tonight you pretend I'm your girlfriend and I pretend that you're my boyfriend?
Nah girl, I'd rather play some checkers. Luckily Bumblebee drives himself over to them and basically saves Sam's relationship. The next day he's in class, he starts to have a mental breakdown / seizure during a lesson. So remember how he found the sliver of the cube? Well, the sliver made him see all these alien symbols. Sam calls Michaela to make sure the sliver is safe, and when she's met with a tiny Decepticon named Willie.
What are you doing here, you little freak? Ow, that's my eye, you crazy bitch! I seek knowledge from the cube. The fallen demands me. You got the shard. I need the shard. Give me the shard. I need the shard. Give me the shard. They're gonna whack me. I'm gonna be done without that shard.
So she kidnaps the dude and goes on a flight to see Sam. Apparently, Alicia goes over to see Sam in his room with Leo. Alicia pushes out Leo, and Sam finds out she just is the Decepticon. So Leo, Sam, and Michaela run for their lives, only to get kidnapped by Megatron, who tries to kill Sam, but Optimus Prime saves the day. Which then cuts to one of the best scenes in the entire movie. But sadly, Optimus gets killed, so the Fallen sends a message to all the humans how he'll take over the world if they don't turn in Sam with Wiki. So the Autobots, Sam, Michaela, and Leo go to find Mr. Simmons for help, and he found evidence of alien symbols, and they use Wheelie to find someone that could read the symbols. They find an old Decepticon named Jetfire who said he switched sides with the Autobots because he hated working for Fallen back in the day. But Jetfire takes everyone to Egypt because the symbols were a map to something called the Dagger's Tip and the Key. So it turns out the symbols were a map to the Matrix of Leadership, which is the key that is used for a machine made by the original Primes that can destroy suns to harvest his energy. But the rule the Primes had was to never destroy a planet with life until the Fallen wanted to. Sam realizes it's possible to use it to revive Optimus, so they find the Matrix only for it to turn it to dust. Sam keeps it for some reason though. The military and the Autobots go to Egypt with Optimus's body so Sam could do the honors. Unfortunately, it falls into an all-out battle. Sam actually dies but is revived by the spirits of the Primes, I guess. He successfully revives Optimus, and Optimus destroys the machine and kills the Fallen. That's basically where this movie ends.
For today, in the name of freedom, we take the battle to them.
The movie begins with Optimus narrating on how, before the fall of Cybertron during the war, there was an Autobot ship that was carrying something that could have helped them win the war, but got lost in space. And when this happened in the 1960s, the US space program found out that there was a UFO that crashed on the moon. So the original moon landing for this movie was that so the Russians couldn't get there first, so they sent American astronauts to investigate. And yeah, it's that Autobot ship that crashed. Well, the whole thing has to be a secret though. Then we cut to Sam with a new girlfriend, Wheelie, and a new guy named Brains who live with him, who's also failing to find a job, but he gets one anyway, so that's cool. While this is happening, the Autobots and US military go to Chernobyl to investigate an alien artifact. They find it, but a worm thing tries to steal it, but Optimus stops it. Turns out the worm thing was from Shockwave. Optimus finds out that the artifact was actually from a long-lost Autobot ship. They go back to Nest, and the Autobots, well, mostly Optimus, is kinda angry that there was an artifact that was in human possession. But we find out by Buzz Aldrin that the Russians must have gotten them and tried to harness its energy at Chernobyl. Then Optimus gives more detail to the Autobot ship that crash landed. It was carrying some technology that would have won them the war, and its inventor Sentinel Prime, who was the leader of the Autobots before Optimus. So they gotta get to them first before the Decepticons get there. Now after Megatron retreated after the last movie, he was working with Soundwave and his little assassin Laserbeak. They were actually forcing people to work with them, but when the humans decided to rebel, they died. Back to Sam, his girlfriend actually also has a job with Mr. Gold here as her partner. Sam's kind of a bit jealous because of how he and she have collected the most expensive cars. Sam's at his job, but he gets interrupted by this dude named Jerry Wang, who gives him some information regarding the moon and the Autobot ship. But it turns out Jerry was actually someone who rebelled against Laserbeak, so he dies.
Dick lectures from Chuck. Well, that's not helping. Jeez. That's Jerry.
Come on, people, yes. A workmate died, but looking out the window is not going to bring him back. The man was depressed.
Don't take a picture.
Back to the Autobots. They make Sentinel come back and how he reveals how he had these pillars, but he only saved 5. Pillars were to be used to form a space bridge, so they had to find the other pillars before the Decepticons find them. Sam and Mr. Simmons find out about some Russian things that were regarding the moon, and they find out in some pictures that shows hundreds of pillars that the Decepticons must have cleared out the moon. So actually, Sentinel's actually the key to everything. But turns out his plan was to betray the Autobots to bring back their fallen planet as a deal he made with Megatron to enslave humanity. Sentinel even sends out a message so that they'll do no harm if the Autobots left Earth, in which they comply to but get killed, and just wreak havoc on Chicago. Mr. Gold kidnaps Carly with the Decepticons. When Sam and Epps go to Chicago and almost die, Optimus saves them and the Autobots weren't actually on the ship. So the Autobots, Sam, and the US military go and fight the Decepticons and save Carly. It's basically this whole war scene which is like the best part of the movie. But basically, after this, all the Decepticons die, including Megatron and Sentinel, and the Autobots win.
So today you stand with us, or you stand against me.
The movie starts off by giving a backstory of how an alien ship set a metal bomb on Earth 65 million years ago, which is the real reason why dinosaurs went extinct. The whole movie, however, is about how after the Battle of Chicago from the third movie, the humans just hate the Autobots now. So there's a CIA unit that's called Cemetery Wind that's hunting all the Autobots down with another Transformer named Lockdown, who apparently is above the whole Autobot Decepticon thing.
On this planet we have a saying. The enemy of my enemy is my friend.
I also have a saying. I don't care.
But their most important target is the leader of the Autobots, Optimus Prime. It's not a movie with Sam anymore this time, it's a guy from Texas named Cade Yeager, with his 17-year-old daughter named Tessa, with a business partner named Lucas. But the important thing to know is that Cade and Lucas bought a rusty truck for parts, since Cade is actually an inventor. After some work, they find out that it's not a normal truck and it's actually a Transformer, and that Transformer turns out to be Optimus because he comes back to life, but is slowly falling apart, but Cade was nice enough to help him out. But Cemetery Wind finds out what they are because Lucas reported it for cash. So when Cemetery Wind is interrogating everyone, almost about to kill Tessa, Optimus swoops in and saves everyone. And we meet Tessa's boyfriend who drives for a living and drives into safety. Optimus and everyone are safe, and now they're wanted criminals. The Autobots that survived regroup with Optimus, but it's only Bumblebee that we know, because there's no Autobots now. Cade helps out the Autobots and they all find out that a major company named KSI in Chicago is using the dead Autobot bodies, melting them and creating something they call Transformium from the metal of the Autobots. They're using it to create their own Transformers because, well, they hate the actual ones, not to mention even using parts of the Decepticons to do so, including Megatron's head. They also want this thing called the Seed, which is like a metal bomb that creates Transformium, and they wanted to make more Transformers as their agreement with the CIA. The Autobots are mad and go and interrogate everyone, just showing how mad Optimus is. But then Optimus and Tessa get captured by Lockdown after fighting the KSI formers, which Cade, Shane, and the Autobots go and rescue them. One thing they learned from all this is that the KSI former they were fighting earlier was called Galvatron, but in reality, since they were building it from Megatron's head, it's just Megatron 2.0. As for KSI, this guy Stan Lee, who was the one that owns the company, met with the head of Cemetery Wind to retrieve the seed in Hong Kong. Something I forgot to mention was that they were trying to control their own made Transformers when Optimus was fighting Galvatron, but Galvatron apparently has a mind of its own, so Stan Lee knows he has to get the seed away from his own Transformers as possible, but Galvatron starts to wreak havoc and all the KSI formers run loose. So it's kind of a huge fight in Hong Kong for the seed, as well as trying to fight off Lockdown and the KSI bots, while introducing Transformer Knights, and the past Knights Optimus met are actually Dinobots.
Oh no. I was expecting a giant car.
The end result of this movie is that the KSI bots retreat, Lockdown dies, the head of Cemetery Wind dies, and Optimus goes to seek out the Transformers creator.
Did you forget who I am?
So the movie starts off in the Dark Ages, and this one knight finds a knight transformer which gives him this magic staff that kind of helps the knights win their war. But back to the present, Optimus Prime finally finds his creator, but the said creator catches him and makes him evil. The CIA still hates the Autobots, and Cade Yeager is in hiding with the Autobots from the last movie. But later on he gets picked up by this British servant transformer to be safe. That's when we meet this old dude in Vivian. Turns out the Transformers had a grand history on Earth. Apparently a lot of historical figures had to do something with them, including the Witwicky family. They'll learn more about the Dark Ages with the Knights and the 9 Transformers back then, and they realize they have to go find out the staff that one Knight had from the beginning. Turns out the Knight is actually the ancestor of Vivian, and Cade is actually the last Knight. They go out to find the staff, they find said staff, many 9 Transformers come to life, Nemesis Prime swoops in and starts trouble. Something I forgot to mention was that the KSI bots are back, but they actually look like Transformers this time. And Galvatron and his guys take the staff away to their creator. Bumblebee starts to fight Prime, but to make sure no one's in trouble, it's not until B's real voice is heard that Prime goes back to being good. Okay, I forgot something. Oh yeah, the fact that there are these Cybertronian things on Earth that are pulling Cybertron to it, and the creator was using the staff to do so. But anyway, the bad guys fall, the creator dies, not really, and that's kinda it.
Once we've gathered the others, we'll join you. You must protect the planet. If the Decepticons find it, then our people are truly finished.
Bumblebee starts the movie on Cybertron with the war between the Autobots and the Decepticons. But the Autobots have lost and now they have to retreat to other planets, and Bumblebee travels to Earth. When he lands, the military interrogates him, but then the Decepticon swoops in and takes away his voice box. The Decepticon gets destroyed though, but the military gets hurt. Then we cut to Charlie, a 17 going on 18 girl trying to live her life, but it's hard because her dad is gone and she's having trouble adjusting to that. But what happens is that she finds a yellow beetle and later finds out that it's actually Bumblebee, in which they start to form a friendship. Later on, while Charlie tries to fix up Bumblebee, a message from Optimus shows up while choppy and continuously cutting out, but then it triggers a flashback of when Bumblebee was leaving Cybertron Cybertron, and every Decepticon was about to gang up on Optimus. While this is happening, a couple of Decepticons, Shatter and Dropkick, find out Bumblebee is on Earth and trick the government into thinking they're good guys trying to find a criminal, that being Bumblebee. Get it? Because they're called Decepticons and they decepted the government? Yeah. You guys get it? And the government lets them tap into their own technology so they can find Bumblebee. A series of events happen throughout the film where Charlie, this guy Memo, and Bumblebee start to have some fun, but one day Charlie leaves Bumblebee home alone, which causes him to wreck the entire house. And during this, the Decepticons and the government find out where he is. Charlie comes back and takes Memo and Bee for a drive, but they get dead-ended by the government, who take Bumblebee to their base for the Decepticons to deal with. What they do is they trigger Optimus' message to Bee, except it's not cutting out, and they find out that the Autobots are actually coming to Earth. So now it's up to Charlie and Memo to take back Bumblebee. And in doing so, many things take a turn where John Cena throws down Charlie, Bee goes crazy, but then the Decepticons fight him, while Charlie's trying to help out to make sure that the Decepticons don't hack into the satellite to signal the rest of the Decepticons. They succeed, but Charlie has to let Bee go because the government is going to be out looking for him. And then Bee and Optimus reunite, and it looks like more Autobots are coming. So okay, now that I've recapped every movie, I can fully give off every opinion I have for each movie. I'll just say this though, while I am a fan of the series, I have to say, the worst movie is the first time I was ever disappointed in a movie in my life. This movie just sucked. The first time I've actually ever been disappointed in a movie, let alone a Transformers movie. Can't tell you guys how disappointed I was by this movie. There's only a few minor pros to this movie. That there's a couple of funny jokes here and there in the first half, a couple of funny Transformers added, it's a bit watchable, and the CGI is good, but that's kind of it. As for the cons, oh boy, I'm not gonna lie, after some careful thinking, the idea of Transformer 9 is a bit weird. It's mostly boring, it's uninteresting to watch, the action scenes are kind of boring, it's the last battle where the action goes from boring to mediocre, there are some uninteresting characters, there really isn't anything that can be said that's amazing about this movie. Also, you would think from the posters and the trailers that it's Optimus Prime that's the last knight, right? But no, it's actually Cade. Why? Apparently he's got courage or something. It's not explained or explored upon in this movie. It's like being a Star Wars fan, and you find out that Rey is somehow a Palpatine. That's what it's like. Also, the creator. Did Michael Bay forget that 65 million years ago, there was transformium on Earth, which theoretically could have been used to have as material, so the Allspark can make Transformers? But no, there's just the creator. I mean, she could have been the one setting up the ships, but still. According to Pointless Hub, she's something else, but the movie doesn't really explain much. It's just, she's the creator and that's it. Also, the transformations kinda suck. Also, how did the KSI bots go from this to this? At least the normal Transformers now, but still how? I thought they were made from all that nanotech stuff. It's just very confusing. Even at the end of the movie, it's basically stated that the series would have still kept going. But thank God it stopped. It's what the series should have done at Dark of the Moon. Speaking of which, the movie just kinda makes certain things from the first 3 movies as cameos, like Simmons, Lennox, and Willie are back, Sentinel's ship, and mentioning Sam and his great-grandfather. They just have Simmons for no reason, same with Willie, and I just hate that it's Lennox working with the people that hate the Autobots. He does feel some remorse for it, but still. How would Ed feel about this? Or even Sam or Optimus? But it kinda just doesn't faze me because the movie is just so boring. So with all said, this movie is just a 4 out of 10. Never thought I'd transform a movie with disappointment like this. But that's just life, I guess. So, Transformers 4. Now, this movie's not bad, at least for the first half of this movie. The first half is actually kind of entertaining, while the second half is just falling down to a mess. I want to be somehow fair and talk about the pros first. Like I already said, the first half is actually kind of entertaining. I do like the slow-mo shots in the movie. The action's good to not bad. It has a somewhat interesting and compelling plot that just takes the series to a different turn, making the humans hate the Autobots. Even though some people wanted them gone back in Dark of the Moon, even that one guy from Revenge of the Fallen. I actually like Kate Yeager and the fact that he's more of a fighter than Sam is, who apparently isn't here anymore for some reason. This one transformation is cool. I also do like the newer Autobots, mostly Hound though.
I'm like a fat ballerina!
I actually kind of like Lockdown. There are a few funny moments in this movie. 2 characters in particular are funny, but they both mess things up in the movie. Lucas and Stan Lee.
They said they were gonna bring a check. I didn't know they were gonna send a death squad. Excuse me. Excuse me, lady. Excuse me. Oh my God! How do you say get the fuck out of the way in Chinese?
But now for the cons of this movie. First off, the KSI bot transformations. The only thing I like about those things are the designs. But that's it. Because when they transform, it just looks off and very, very weird. It's the transformium acting like nanotechnology. And when they transform, it just looks like unfinished and lackluster CGI. Just the way it finishes its transformation just leaves a bitter taste in my mouth. As for the CGI for everything else, it's actually pretty good. I actually did some research and turns out that Shia LaBeouf didn't want to return in the series because there wouldn't be an initial purpose for his character. In a way, I guess it makes sense. The only complaint I have with this is why don't have him like, I don't know, show him in hiding, talking to Cade about how he feels about everyone hitting the Autobots. That could work. Plus, maybe he could help Cade with everything. As far as other characters like Tessa and Shane. They're not terrible at the least, just mid characters. Especially Shane.
Hey, I'm not here to help you get your daughter. You're here to help me get my girlfriend.
The backstory for this movie is confusing. When we thought it was the Allspark that helped make a Transformer, the movie forgets that. I mean, theoretically, they could have used the metal and have the Allspark make it into Transformers, but that's not explained upon or anything. While it is understandable why Optimus and the Autobots are infuriated by humans for killing him and hating them, but it's actually kind of understandable. In Dark of the Moon, it was Sentinel that was needed by the Decepticons, which then Optimus fell for and revived him. Even on Optimus' part, it was kind of an accident since he didn't know it was a Decepticon trap, but still, he would have to feel some guilt or regret after everything, but I guess he doesn't.
But when I find out who's behind this, he's going to die.
Not to mention the fact that Shane and Tessa's relationship is actually illegal, because Shane is 20 and Tessa is 17. Which is technically a minor. Yeah, I don't know what the writers were thinking about this. And the Romeo and Juliet law doesn't even help at all. After some research, the law only works if the age gap is less than 2 years, and their age gap is 3 years. So yeah, not only are there illegal aliens in this movie, there's also an illegal relationship. If you want to be clever about this, it would have all slid and be whatever with if Tessa was 18, because in the movie, she's a senior about to graduate, and most seniors are 18, so why not make her 18? And mostly everything would just kind of slid. But I think it would most likely would have been better if they were in the same grade, so that way Kay wouldn't be worrying about a 20-year-old possibly doing romantic things with his underage daughter.
I like to be fresh when I'm making out with your daughter.
Hey, yo, what the fuck?
This movie just feels like 3 hours, and it's kind of funny because this movie is only 10 minutes longer than the last 2 movies, but pacing definitely needs work. I cannot understand why many people who went to go see this movie fell asleep. Fun fact, when I rewatched this, it was actually my dad's first time watching it without falling asleep. How is this movie, a movie that has a complete script and everything, worse than a movie with an unfinished script? The only way how I could ever recommend this movie to somebody is if I only suggest watching the first half, but overall, it's pretty mid. So I'm giving this a 6.4 out of 10. This movie came out the same year the Michael Bay TMNT movie came out too. Oh boy, I love this movie, but it's a mess. It's my lovable mess of a movie. A guilty pleasure of mine. Kinda like Hop. I'm actually being serious here. Revenge of the Fallen is a sequel to the 2007 Transformers movie, and basically everyone who went to go see this movie left the theater disappointed and went to go think about their life choices. I, however, think it's actually not that bad. It's not amazing or a great movie by all means, but hey, I actually kind of like it. But there are definitely some flaws here. First off, yeah, the scene with Alicia and Sam is something we definitely do not talk about. Also, the writing and how the beginning kind of messes up the pacing a little for this movie. Like, everyone's wondering what the Fallen is when literally the audience already knows. Like, honestly, I'm a bit confused. If the Primes were the first ones on Earth first, wouldn't Optimus and Sentinel be there? Wouldn't they be the ones trying to protect the Matrix? I have no idea. It's also pretty immature in the first half and has a few immature jokes. However, there are still some things I actually like from this movie. First off, the comedy, some of the jokes I actually like. Mainly it's because of the twins. A lot of people hate these two, but I love them. They're hilarious.
I got the green. That hurt, man. It's supposed to hurt. It's an ass kicking. Oh, look at this mother. Mean robots suck.
Even Jetfire is unintentionally funny. I even like Wheelie, except when, you know. Fun fact, both Wheelie and Skids are both voiced by Tom Kenny, the voice of SpongeBob.
Why don't you get a haircut with your bitch ass? Go whine to your boyfriend.
The CGI has definitely improved from the last movie. And, oh yeah, the action. It's pretty good. The forest fight where Optimus solos the Decepticons is probably one of my favorite Transformers fight scenes. But that's kind of it. Oh wait, the music. The score is good, and New Divide by Linkin Park rocks.
Across this new divide.
There is, however, a song that plays during the movie that kind of makes it its second theme song. It's a bit of the same with Dark of the Moon, how the song Monster plays in the credits, but this particular song plays more frequently, and that is Green Day's 21 Guns.
21 guns, throw up your arms into the sky.
The song is actually pretty good, I'm not gonna lie. I've actually had this song on repeat numerous times actually. I think this movie is actually kind of good because it's actually entertaining to watch. Like from start to finish, it's actually pretty cool. Even the Shanghai scene is actually something I could watch on and on. But honestly, that's kind of it for Revenge of the Fallen. There are many flaws here that downgrade this movie, and overall it just does not live up to the first movie whatsoever. But because there's actually some good things from this movie, it's entertaining at least from my perspective. I actually kind of like it. This movie gets its critically 7.3 out of 10. Dark of the Moon. Where do I begin? This movie was a movie that received really well at the box office, but kind of did poorly in the Rotten Tomatoes and audience score. Now, this movie is definitely a step up from the sequel, but there are a few things I think it could fix to be either as good or even better than the first movie. Like, we got Shockwave, who just looks so... but it doesn't really do a lot. More of his worm that gets more glory than he does, which kind of sucks because Optimus Prime just kills him easily. I know a lot of us wanted the full Optimus versus Shockwave fight, but we didn't. At least we get that in the Dark of the Moon video game where Shockwave is the final boss. Also, Carly just comes out of nowhere. Like what happened to Michaela? We were building up on the relationship from the last one, and apparently they break up? Like, okay, for those who don't know due to some stuff, Megan Fox was quote-unquote let go from the series. But she comes back for Ninja Turtles, which is actually produced by Michael Bay, so... I feel like at times it gives a tad bit more attention to the humans than they do to the Autobots, but everything was kind of forgiven in the third act of the movie, the war scene. As for the pros, of course we got the war scene. It's just awesome. This movie definitely improves from the sequel to this. It's less immature, but even the tad immature moments are actually kind of funny. Especially Jerry Wayne. I'm sorry, but his death is kind of funny. You can't lie to me. As for the comedy, Simmons and Dutch are actually one of the highlights of this movie. Don't you dare lie to me. Don't you dare. The CGI is just awesome. I am fond of the whole space theme. This time the story isn't really confusing, which makes this one pretty good. This movie definitely has much potential to be as good or even better than the first, and it's close too, but I just really like the first one a little better. That war scene still kicks butt to this day. This movie gets a good 8.4 out of 10 for me. Like I said, it's close to being as good as the first one. So this movie was how the whole live action series started. I saw this movie once, but it was a while ago, so I didn't remember basically everything besides when Bumblebee just decides to take a leak on someone. But after rewatching this movie, it's just awesome. Now, why is this movie awesome, you ask? Well, the story makes sense, it's pretty funny, it's not as immature with its humor like the rest, but even when it is a little immature, I actually like the little jokes in here. The action is just so good, and the music, oh my gosh, the music. If I were to talk about music, I wouldn't really talk about much of the score. I talk about the lyrical soundtracks. As for this movie, it's Linkin Park's What I've Done. I always knew this song was from this movie, but I just felt pleasure with joy just hearing it in the movie. Even the score was just amazing. If you want to see a video where someone critiques the score for these movies, go check out Sideways' video. The CGI for this movie is impressive for a 2007 movie. I think one of the things I like about the Autobots is that they're a bit comedic for like the first 10 minutes they're in this movie.
Please, please, please. No, wait. No, no.
Oops, sorry, my bad.
He peed on you? Bad mojo. Bad mojo.
Bad mojo.
Another one of the things I liked for some reason was they acknowledged Jazz's death, like a fallen soldier or brother. I think it's something that should have been added to Dark of the Moon. Like Optimus could have said something about Ironhide getting disintegrated, since Ironhide was with them from the start. It's kind of random how the Decepticons and Autobots found out about the glasses, and Sam because of his eBay account. And because of that, it's actually kind of hilarious. But what are the flaws of this movie? Well, I guess in the final battle, it's like a fever dream. A lot's going on, which is cool, but I think maybe it would be best to like tone it down just like, I don't know, like 2% maybe, I don't know, to be honest. And Michaela, don't get me wrong, Megan Fox does a good job. Her character is cool too, but I feel like they could have done a little bit more with the character. Like, she knows how cars work and everything, maybe do something with that for the Autobots? I don't know. It's not much of a flaw, but it's both interesting and confusing how Starscream's voice changed from the first movie to the rest of the movies.
Lord Megatron. Where is the cube? The humans have taken it.
How it pains me to see you so wounded, so weak. weak.
I think a little of a major nitpick I had from this movie was that it was Sam killing Megatron instead of Optimus. Like, Sam just carried the Allspark around like a warrior and just unincidentally kills Megatron. I don't know, I feel like it would have been a lot better if it was actually Optimus. But that's kind of it. To this day, this is a really good movie. It's the best of the Michael Bay movies, that's for sure. I'll give it a critically good 8.6 out of 10. I love it. Now, this is a movie I'm glad exists, because after the last night, the Transformers was about to fall downhill, but Bumblebee kind of saves the franchise. Well, it's not a Michael Bay Transformers movie, it's really good, because this movie is more of a faithful adaptation to the original show. From the designs to the original story from the show, it feels like a Gen 1 inspired Transformers movie. But let's get into the pros and cons. First, the pros, of course. As I mentioned, very faithful to the show, which is awesome. Also, it's not a Michael Bay movie. Don't get me wrong, while I like the more violent, dark, war-type vibe the Bay Transformer movies have, what Travis Knight does for this movie, it has a more lighthearted, action-type tone, if that makes sense. It still has its dark moments, but I think that's good for the balance of tone for this movie. It's a nice change of pace for this movie to have a balance between dark moments and lighthearted, wholesome moments. But those moments are mostly with Bee and Charlie. Speaking of Charlie, I think she's critically the best main character in the entire series. Like, with Sam is more of the comedic one, which is nice. He's kind of destined to take part in the war with the Autobots, but you don't really have an emotional connection with the character. I mean, Cade is cool, he's more of a fighter, I'll give him that. He helped Optimus, that's for sure. But again, we don't fully deep dive into his character to have that emotional connection. I mean, besides being a fugitive, but still. But with Charlie, it kind of does. Her character and her emotional connection to her family, to her dad, to Bee, it's all written and executed really well. Another thing that every Transformers movie has is great CGI. The thing with Bumblebee is that it doesn't even look like it's made from CGI. It's just astounding. Even with Cybertron and everything, it looks amazing. But what else is there? I mean, John Cena does a good job, that's for sure. One thing which I think was interesting was that instead of the government kind of capturing Bumblebee, then somehow siding with the Autobots, kind of refreshing seeing how the Decepticons are the ones deceiving humans into thinking the Autobots are the bad guys. It's interesting. I like it. What else? I mean, the story's good, action's pretty good too. It's not the war type action the Bay formers have, but I still like it. I mean, it's faithful to how quick Bee transforms like in the show, but if I'm being honest, I think one of the things that the Bay movies had that everyone liked was the transformations. I think how there's more mechanical element and detail to the transformations in the Bay movies. We don't really have much of that in Bumblebee, but it's whatever, I like it. Okay, I think I'll finish with the praise. Now for cons. I honestly don't really have much to say, other than maybe have like one more Optimus on Cybertron flashback while Bee was fleeing from Cybertron. That's maybe just me. Who knows, we might get more exposition like that for Rise of the Beast. Also, I know the transformations are a bit quick like the Gen 1 show, but not gonna lie, I'm used to the full mechanical detail to both the transformations and the Transformers. Don't get me wrong, I'm glad this movie stuck to the Gen 1-ness of Transformers, but I'm just used to the Bay former detail when it comes to live action. But either way, this movie's really good. I think it honestly deserves a good 8.8 out of 10. It's a great movie, but it doesn't really feel too major. Before this video actually ends, I just want to give my final thoughts on the series as a whole. While I do like this series, there are definitely some things that get in the way of making these movies reach their full potential. And by that, I mean the fact that Transformers 4 and 5 exist. And because they exist, the series has been bashed by many critics. Even though said critics didn't like Revenge of the Fallen or Dark of the Moon as well, but they were the most liked out of the sequels. The first movie is a movie that basically everyone knows is good. The start of the movie series that just went a bit downhill after. While there are some likable and memorable things from the series, everyone will still remember that Transformers 4 and 5 exist. They didn't need to make those movies. All of the Decepticons were dead, and it would have made more sense to leave it at that, like the finale of the series, finishing off with something spectacular. I think what definitely changed was that it didn't have the gritty or just the overall vibe or tone the first three movies had. I don't know what it is. Like a change of atmosphere, I guess you could say. I guess in a way it shows since Michael Bay was getting burned out for making these movies for 10 years, but at least we have Bumblebee. Technically this was made to start as the prequel / reset for the series, and this movie saves the said series. It's a movie that OG fans wanted from Michael Bay in the first place. Gen 1 adapted Transformers, and we actually get that. The movie overall is not gritty or dark. Okay, it has a couple of dark moments, but it's to level out the balance of the good wholesome moments to the dark moments. Think about it like this. The Bay movies are the DCEU, and the Gen 1 Transformer movies are James Gunn's new DC universe. It's gonna be a fresh new start, and I'm very excited for where Rise of the Beast takes us. I know absolutely nothing about the Maximals, the Terracons, or the Predacons, but I don't care. It looks awesome. hope there are more movies after to see what the new direction is for the franchise.
My mission is done for now, for I must protect the humans that will always defend the Bay movies even if a couple of them are bad. But we'll always see it through. I am Sonic Bro, as I call out to all Transformer fans that call the internet our home to geek out on Transformers. For we all know, this franchise is, and always be, awesome.
And I've got to say, in all honesty, it's the biggest piece of dog that I have ever heard. Everyone's laughing, by the way, but it's true because everybody's heard it too. Everyone heard it, right?
I mean, it's alright. Like, overrated as f***, in my opinion. I mean,
till it's cool, just cool, into the mouth. Nice.
Huh? Oh, come on! You gotta admit this is cool!
Woo! Yeah, baby!
I gotta tell you, it was perfect. Perfect. Everything, down to the last minute details.